and everywhere else.
Their phone open in the bathroom.
Yeah, that's Vivek. Vivek, that's your phone, Vivek. I'm not able to mute you.
He took a piss. That's right. Vivek Ramaswamy took a piss. This is the story today. I got some actual news coming up, just to let you know, because I could not justify doing a whole video on someone taking a piss. But Vivek Ramaswamy, during a meeting of the dipshits, which included Elon Musk, Alex Jones, and some other clowns, was on Twitter during this meeting and left his mic on during a important moment in the meeting, which included Vivek having to pee. So here is the clip, and then I'll do whatever commentary I can, and then we'll get to some real news.
Elon Musk is promoting an optimistic, pro-human future that the science and evidence shows is real and that we need.
Gentlemen, I have to go.
Yeah, I just want to be sort of exactly. I want to be very clear about my position. I'm super pro-human, and I mean all humans. Humans in America, humans in
somebody's
Africa,
got their thing
Asia,
open,
and everywhere else.
Their phone open in the bathroom.
Yeah, that's Vivek. Vivek, that's your phone, Vivek. I'm not able to mute you. Vivek. All right, perfect. Go ahead, Elon.
Sorry about that.
So, well, I hope you feel better.
I feel great. Thank you. Sorry about that, guys.
So did he actually take a piss? This is what's being reported, is that he did. I'm actually not so convinced. It could just be him washing his hands. It sounds like a very weak stream. So let that tell you whatever it does. But this is, everyone's reporting, like Newsweek has a story on this. Who else? New York Post has a story on this. Mediaite, they're all claiming that he peed, but they're really just basing that off of what Alex Jones said. And his track record isn't too good. So it may not be a pee. Regardless, let's get to some real news, because goddamn, I can't do more on P-Gate. This is real news right here. So over the weekend, the U.S. vetoed a resolution on Gaza, which called for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire. This headline right here from the UN. The vote, as a UN news right here, U.S. vetoed Security Council draft resolution that would have demanded an immediate humanitarian ceasefire in Gaza and immediate and unconditional release of all hostages. 13 voted in favor, 1 against, and the UK abstained. Now, a quick breakdown here of who is in the Security Council. So there are 5 permanent members: China, France, Russia, UK, and the US. And then you have rotating non-permanent members that right now includes Albania, Brazil, Ecuador, Gabon, Ghana, Japan, Malta, Mozambique, Switzerland, and the UAE. So this resolution was introduced by the UAE, and as you saw, they all agreed on it, except for the US and the UK abstaining. Now, quote here from Riyad Mansour, the Palestinian UN envoy, called the veto disastrous. Quote, the Security Council was again prevented from rising to this moment to uphold its clear responsibilities in the face of this grave crisis threatening human lives and threatening regional and international peace and security. Instead of allowing this council to uphold its mandate by finally making a clear call after 2 months of massacres that the atrocities must end, the war criminals are given more time to perpetuate them. How can this be justified? And Nicolas de Rivière, France's permanent representative to the Security Council, who voted in favor of the ceasefire, argued that there is no contradiction in the fight against terrorism and the protection of civilians in strict respect of international humanitarian law. This goes to why the UN is so ineffective. Even though they are incredibly important and the voices there are very important to understanding that there is consensus on a lot of these issues, in terms of the actual action they're able to put forward or any sort of resolution like this, you are never going to have anybody of power, be it, the US, be it China, be it Russia, be it the UK. Nobody with any actual veto power is ever going to face any sort of resolution that limits their power in any way. So because the US is so tied to the far right-wing Israeli government, you have here once again, and this is one of, I forget the count now, but it's something like over 40 or 50 votes where the U.S. has been one of either the single or one of a couple, including the UK, votes for Israel and the apartheid government against the wishes of everybody else on the Security Council or the greater UN. This has been an ongoing issue with how the UN is unable to function in the face of empires having veto power, which also, I mean, we're kind of caught in the middle here, because either the UN has power, which you would need to include massive empires like the UN if the US if the UN's going to have any real power. But if the US did not have veto power, they would not be a part of the UN. So it's sort of this catch-22 where either the UN has teeth and you have everybody on board, or it has no teeth and it means nothing. And either way, you're sort of stuck with situations like this where you have these mass powers voting in favor of their mass atrocities. Now, human rights lawyer Craig McIver tweeted out on the eve of the 75th anniversary of the Genocide Convention, the U.S. has again vetoed a ceasefire in the UN Security Council, thereby demonstrating its further complicity in the genocide in Palestine. Thousands have died since its last veto, and more will die now. And Craig McIver was the guy, I did a video on this, he was the guy that left the UN after being there for, I believe it was 30 or 40 years. I think it was 30 years. He just recently left because he stated the UN has no teeth. It has no power when you have countries like the US having veto power. And there is no accountability, essentially, is part of the reason he left. So, you know, he is continuing this fight for human rights in Gaza, but it's an uphill battle, and he knows better than anybody, having been a part of the UN for as long as he was. And by the way, I also want to give credit here, a lot of credit, before I go any further, to Common Dreams. So I'm referencing a lot of what they're reporting here. So both Julie Conley and I'll get to this in a second here, Jake Johnson and others as well. I've utilized in the past. I've donated to them in the past as well. If you have, you know, if you're looking for a media outlet to support, Common Dreams consistently does a great job at communicating various human rights issues. They're very up on the climate crisis and the various groups fighting there as well. And they're one of my main resources when it goes to looking at what's actually important right now and, you know, what's happening in the world that needs to be addressed. Common Dreams is a great resource for that sort of reporting and perspective as well. So definitely, if you have the ability to, I would suggest donating to Common Dreams, and I'll link to their page below this video. But just want to show, you know, AOC is one of a handful, unfortunately, of politicians in Washington that are in favor of a ceasefire. But she tweets out here, shameful. The Biden administration can no longer reconcile their professed concern for Palestinians and human rights while also single-handedly vetoing the UN's call for ceasefire and sidestepping the entire U.S. Congress to unconditionally back the indiscriminate bombing of Gaza. You know, I've run out of things to say at this point when it comes to the real unwillingness especially in national politics, but in Washington, D.C., to really acknowledge the obvious here. And of course, money is a big part of that, whether it's AIPAC, whether it's other groups, far right-wing groups that are aligned with the far right-wing Israeli government, and their threats on politicians and their re-election campaigns, oftentimes, I mean, not often, always, especially for those that are vocal about these mass atrocities, they are either spending money for primary challengers against them, so AIPAC and others will definitely be involved in an attempted primary challenge against AOC, or they will support the Republican candidate in the race. And these are, by the way, again, these are groups that support both Democrats and Republicans. So they will back whatever side they can that they feel is a worthy investment to try and get somebody in there that is going to take out someone who is supporting the human rights of Palestinians. It's an ongoing problem, and it's part of the reason why a lot of politicians are afraid to speak up, and some of them just go. I mean, if you've seen John Fetterman, the Democratic senator, he is one of the absolute worst right now in terms of just the complete erasing of the obvious genocide going on in Gaza, and it's not even just ignoring what's going on. He is actively supporting the far right-wing government of Israel as they are indiscriminately bombing and killing tens of thousands of civilians. It would be disgusting to see from a Republican senator. It's even more disgusting, I would argue, from a Democratic senator, where you would hopefully expect a little more, at least a larger voice for human rights. But he's someone who is just, he's completely gone, and it's really sad to see how far he's fallen. Last thing here from Common Dreams. So this is today. West Bank general strike kicks off global protest against Israel's war on Gaza. So there are work stoppages being held in Jordan, Lebanon, and elsewhere, and there are others, all over the world right now today, fighting for this or advocating to go on a strike in support of Gaza. So it's good to see some solidarity here. Still, I can't help. I want to be. I very much want to be optimistic. But seeing how little teeth the UN has, seeing what little power there is against these ongoing atrocities, I want to bring good news. I want to communicate that there will be an end to this at some point. But the way things are going right now, I really do not know when this is going to end.